Today we are going to discuss Desi Consultancies in the US. Ever since we started at SOKR, we have received so many requests on deep diving into the Desi Consultancies in the US because we have heard so many mixed things, some good, some bad, some very bad. So let's use the time today to understand what are Desi Consultancies, how did they gain prominence, some unethical practices that Desi Consultancies do, how they actually employ people in different companies, our final verdict of course, so stay tuned for that, but we will also help you understand how to identify a good Desi Consultancy from a bad Desi Consultancy. So stay tuned and let's begin. This is the first video of our new series called The Desi Way, where we discuss everyday immigrant life topics. And if you're new today, I am Priya from It's OKR, and It's OKR is a content platform for South Asian immigrants, and we aim to educate, entertain and empower them. So what are Desi Consultancies? Desi Consultancies are typically staffing agencies owned by Desis, hence the name. These agencies specialize in providing various kind of services to international students and professionals who want to study or work in the US. The services typically include visa application assistance, job placement and training programs. So when did they gain prominence? While we are understanding about Desi Consultancies, let's take a time to understand the history behind these Desi Consultancies. So these Desi Consultancies have been around for decades, but they gained prominence in the early 2000s when the H-1B program became extremely popular. Now we all know that H-1B program is widely used by the IT professionals, and at that time IT professionals used these Desi Consultancies to navigate the complex visa processes and get themselves placed. And for a long time things were absolutely fine, but then more Desis started gravitating towards the American dream. Nothing wrong with that. But then the demand for these consultancies actually spiked. And we know when the demand for something actually spikes, there are a lot of opportunists who are waiting to find loopholes and take advantage of the system.
That's your loophole. I don't believe in loopholes. What? Loopholes are the best.
Now let's discuss some of the pros of the Desi Consultancies. The biggest pro of a Desi Consultancy is cultural familiarity. Since a lot of these consultancies are run by a lot of Desis who are very familiar with how our Indian culture is or how the Desi culture is and have spent enough time in the US, they are able to help us bridge the gap between both the cultures. So from your dress code to communication to how to prep you for the interview, they fully understand your background and are able to help you guide that process. So the next one is industry expertise. Many of these Desi Consultancies actually have a lot of expertise in providing consulting and staffing services to the IT companies who actually have a lot of demand for these skilled workers. Then they help the candidate prepare to land jobs in these companies through extensive preparation that includes preparing your resume, training you for the job interview, and sometimes providing additional training and guidance to help you stand out in the competitive job market. The next one is access to job opportunities. Desi Consultancies have actually established a very strong relationship with a lot of IT companies, and they fully understand their needs and requirements. So most of the times they have access to jobs in these companies that are not generally advertised anywhere else. This is specifically helpful for international students who are looking to land a job in the US but struggle with networking and are not able to find these opportunities. The next one is visa support, and this is probably the biggest of all because most of the Desi Consultancies are actually willing to sponsor your H-1B visa. This is very beneficial for international students, but it also comes handy for a lot of H-4 visa holders who are looking for companies to sponsor their H-1B visa. Not just that, if you are on an H-1B visa and you are impacted by a layoff, these consultancies can help you transfer your H-1B and land you on a different job or a new job in a different company as well. Why are they so infamous in the US? So Desi Consultancies are a little badnaam in the US because of their alleged involvement in visa fraud and a lot of other unethical practices. Some of them have actually been also shut down by the US law enforcement agencies because of their fraudulent involvement in visa activities, which has led to a negative perception of Desi Consultancies in the US. So over the past few years, the entire narrative around the H-1B visa holders taking jobs away from US citizens has actually picked up steam, and that has led for many politicians and American workers to believe that these Desi Consultancies actually misuse the H-1B visa program and import workers into this country who are willing to work for lower wages. However, a lot of these claims are actually relatively unjustified. So let's understand the unethical practices that are used by Desi Consultancies. Desi Consultancies are specially infamous for the fact that they use a lot of unethical practices to ensure that you get your H-1B visa. A lot of the times they are taking advantage of the people who are in a desperate situation, which is kind of understandable because you've taken a massive loan to come to this country, you've spent a lot of time either studying, and now if you don't have a visa, you are challenged to pay that loan. So you are going to go to any measure or work with any consultancy that is willing to sponsor your visa and help you stay here for a couple of years to at least pay off that loan. Having said that, let's discuss some of the common unethical practices that are used by these Desi Consultancies. The biggest one is resume fraud. In this, they are basically going to exaggerate any of your qualifications, technical skills, education, etc. to help you land a job. In many cases, you might be asked to lie about your qualifications and credentials in the interview process. Please note that this is absolutely unethical and it can lead to a lot of serious problems for the employer as well as the candidate. So please refrain from engaging in any of these activities. The next one is pay to play. Some of these Desi Consultancies require candidates to pay a fee in exchange for helping them land a job or file for their H-1B. These fees can range from a few hundred to a couple of $1,000s, but the problem that arises is sometimes these Desi Consultancies do not fulfill what they have promised. So you might be left in a situation where you have paid a fee, however, your visa was neither filed, neither have you landed a job. These practices are actually very illegal and the Desi Consultancies can get into trouble under civil and criminal charges in the US. The next one is falsifying information. In many cases, these Desi Consultancies are known to file multiple H-1B applications for the same candidates under different names and addresses, thus trying to bypass the H-1B lottery system. This is a violation of the H-1B visa program as it requires each employer to file just one application for a candidate. This practice can lead to visa fraud charges and permanent ineligibility for future visa applications. Next one is inflating salaries. In many cases, these Desi Consultancies actually inflate the salaries to meet the minimum requirement of the H-1B visa position. This is absolutely fraudulent and can lead to visa fraud charges if discovered by the immigration authorities. In many cases, these Desi Consultancies also try to take a cut for the wages that you actually receive, so you don't end up getting what exactly that position was advertised for. So the next one is job misrepresentation. A lot of these Desi Consultancies actually misrepresent the job, exaggerate the duties or the working conditions. In many cases, they also hide the identity of the employer from the candidate. A lot of these practices are completely unethical, and I will give you an example to help you understand the severity of the situation. For example, a candidate was told that they are actually going to do an IT upgrade for a theater. When USCIS did a surprise visit, they realized that there was no such theater that existed, and there was no IT upgrade, of course, that was happening. That led to serious consequences for the candidate as well as the consultancy, and they had to pay a lot of hefty fine to get through the situation. The last one is interview prep. A lot of these Desi Consultancies actually end up appearing for an interview on your behalf during phone screening, sometimes the actual interview. So when you finally get the job, the employer actually realizes that this is not the person who actually interviewed for the job. This can lead to, again, serious violations and a lot of fraud, and this is something Desi Consultancies do on a regular basis. Again, not all Desi Consultancies involve themselves into these unethical practices. A lot of them are actually really good. However, because certain cases like these have surfaced, there has been a lot of criticism about the Desi Consultancies in the industry. Now let's understand how to identify a good Desi Consultancy from a bad Desi Consultancy. If you have made it so far in the video, then of course you are in a position to make an informed decision about whether a Desi Consultancy is good or bad. But here are a couple of pointers that can help you make that decision and point out that red flag. The number one being, if they're asking you to exaggerate your experience or add something to the resume that's totally irrelevant and does not work with your background. The second one being, they're promising you to get you an IT job even when you have no IT experience. The third one is when they say they will take care of the interview, and the last one being that they're asking you for money for an H-1B visa and promising to get you an H-1B visa. Remember, no one can promise to get you an H-1B visa because it's a lottery process at the end of the day. right. While we have covered a lot of these fraudulent practices and everything that can go bad with the Desi consultancies, please remember there are a lot of good Desi consultancies out there. You just have to make sure that you are finding the right Desi consultancy that is going to work for you. Because in many cases, these Desi consultancies actually help you prepare for the job, help you navigate the complex visa system, help you train for these jobs and make you more professional and help you stand out in the competitive industry. So in many cases they are good. While we have tried our best to give you all of the situations, none of this is black and white. There is a lot of gray, and fortunately or unfortunately all of this information will help you navigate that gray area. However, you know what will be really beneficial for this community? If you have had a great experience working with the Desi consultancy, please leave that in the comment box. Please share their names so that other viewers of this channel can actually benefit from it. If you had a bad experience with a Desi consultancy, also leave that in the comment box so that we can make ourselves aware of what's good and what's bad out there and make these informed decisions. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this was helpful, and if it did, please like, share and subscribe, and leave a topic below that you would like us to cover next time. And if things are not going your way, remember, it's okay, yaar, and things will eventually turn around. This is Priya signing off. Bye and have a nice day.